You ever wondered what it really takes to build something sacred? I mean, not just the blueprints, but the actual raw materials, the cost, the people who poured their hearts into it. Well, today we're cracking open an ancient ledger, a super detailed inventory from the book of Exodus, to see exactly what went into building the tabernacle's courtyard, from its huge centerpiece all the way down to the final, staggering bill. So here's the plan. We'll start with that main event, the bronze altar, then check out a really unique basin. After that, we'll see how they fenced off the whole sacred area, run the numbers in a grand tally of all the materials, and finally, we'll meet the actual community and the artisans who made it all happen. All right, first up, the single most dominant feature of the whole outer court, the altar of burnt offering. And let me tell you, this wasn't just a piece of furniture. This was the absolute focal point of the entire space. The way they built it is actually pretty fascinating. They start with a frame of acacia wood, which is strong but not crazy heavy. Then they cover the entire thing in bronze, which makes it tough enough to handle, fire. And notice that last step. They added poles for carrying it. This whole thing was designed from the ground up to be portable, a sanctuary on the move. So just how big are we talking here? 5 cubits by 5 cubits by 3 cubits high. To put that into perspective for us, that's roughly 7.5 feet square and 4.5 feet tall. So just imagine something with the footprint of a large SUV, sitting in the middle of this courtyard, completely covered in shining bronze. I mean, what an imposing sight that must have been. And the level of detail is just incredible. It wasn't just the altar itself. Every single tool that went with it, the pots for the ash, the shovels, the forks, every single piece was also meticulously crafted from bronze. It was a totally unified and functional set. Okay, let's move to the next item. We're going from the fiery altar to this water-filled basin, an object that was made from a truly remarkable material source. Now, I want you to just stop and think about this for a moment. Back in the ancient world, mirrors weren't glass. They were highly polished bronze, and they were very personal, very valuable items. The women of the community donated their own mirrors, objects of personal reflection, to be melted down to create a single communal object for ritual cleansing. That is an incredible act of devotion, literally embedded right into the metal itself. So now that we have the key items, we've got to enclose them, right? The next part of the project was to build the fence, a massive barrier that would clearly define the sacred ground from the rest of the world outside. This table here gives us a fantastic blueprint. You can see the symmetry immediately. The north and south sides were both 150 feet long, each with 20 posts. The east and west sides were exactly half that, 75 feet with 10 posts. And the materials were totally consistent. Curtains of fine linen, heavy bronze bases to keep it all stable, and then silver for the decorative hooks and bands on the posts. But the entrance on the east side, that was special. Instead of the plain white linen of the other walls, this was a 30-foot wide curtain, a vibrant, colorful tapestry woven by a master embroiderer with threads of blue, purple, and scarlet. This was the ornate, beautiful welcome into the secret space. All right, the construction is complete, but the ancient record doesn't stop there. It then pivots to what has to be one of the most detailed financial reports in history. It's time to check out the final bill. So after all that work, what did it all add up to? Well, it's interesting because the text actually zooms out here to give us the final inventory of precious metals for the entire tabernacle project, not just the courtyard we've been looking at. Let's start with the gold. The total amount used was 29 talents and 730 shekels. In modern terms, that is a truly staggering amount. We're talking about roughly 1 ton of pure gold. Next up, silver. Over 100 talents were collected. And what's really cool is the text tells us exactly where it went. 100 of those talents were melted down to cast 100 massive silver bases for the main structure. That's 1 talent of silver per base. The rest was used for all the hooks and overlays on the courtyard posts. And finally, bronze, about 70 talents worth. This was really the workhorse metal, right? It was used for all the high heat stuff, like the altar and its grating, and for all the foundational pieces, like the bases for the courtyard posts, and even all the tent pegs holding the whole thing to the ground. But these materials didn't just shape themselves. So the final section of this incredible inventory turns from the what to the who. Who were the people that made this massive undertaking possible in the first place? The text gives credit where credit is due. It names names. Bezalel is the master craftsman, the chief architect of the whole shebang. Oholiab is his partner, a specialist in engraving and embroidery. You can bet he's the artist behind that beautiful entrance curtain. And overseeing all the meticulous accounting, that was Ithamar, who directed the Levites as they recorded every single last shekel.
So where did all that silver come from? Well, the text tells us it came from a census, specifically from 603,550 men, all aged 20 years or older. This wasn't a project funded by a wealthy few. No, this was a massive, community-wide campaign.
And here's the crucial point. Every single one of those men gave the exact same amount, 1 beka, which is half a shekel. It was essentially a flat tax, a universal contribution. And that meant that every single person, regardless of their wealth, had an equal share and equal stake in the construction of their central place of worship. And all this leaves us with a final thought. This isn't just a list of materials. It's recorded with the same seriousness as a legal code or a historical epic. So why? Why record a building's inventory with such gravity? Well, perhaps it's because the accounting shows that this sacred space wasn't just a gift that came down from above, but a shared sacrifice that was built up by everyone from below.